Hello, this is Dr. Mercola, and today I want to talk to you about detoxification. And this is a very controversial subject and something that I really haven't talked about a lot because there's so much controversy on it and different views on what is right and what is wrong. But from reviewing this for a while and actually having worked with this for some time, I've come to some conclusions that I wanted to share them with you. First of all, it's important to understand that most of the toxins in your body are stored in your fat. In fact, there's probably 100 times more toxins in your fat than are in your blood. So one of the basic principles that you can do is to reduce the amount of fat in your body, because when you do that, especially if you're doing it in a way that's optimal, you're going to help your body excrete those toxins from your body back into the environment where you don't want them. You do not want these toxins in your body. So really the first part is to optimize your body weight. Now, if you do that incorrectly, though, you can actually reposition those toxins from your fat and redeposit them in other areas in the body. So you want to do it in a way that's healthy, and you want to do this by essentially following a healthy lifestyle. You know, really doing the exercise where you're sweating this out, so you're properly excreting them. And if you need a more aggressive intervention, I recently learned from one of the top detoxification experts around, in fact, a physician who is a surgical oncologist and has received a multi-million-dollar award from the Department of Defense to treat 9/11 victims and Gulf War victims for detoxification issues. And he's done a very successful program. And the way he does this is relatively simple, but is a program that really should ideally be monitored by a physician, because there are problems that can occur. But elements of it you can certainly apply for yourself. And there's three components. One is that he uses exercise acutely to increase the circulation, the lymphatic flow, and the improvement of basic circulation. So he does that initially, and then immediately afterwards, the person is put into an infrared sauna for about a half hour to an hour. And it's this heat from the infrared sauna in conjunction with the exercise that helps excrete it. But he has another important magic bullet or ingredient, and that is a supplement, vitamin B3 or niacin, but in very high doses. And niacin is frequently used to treat high cholesterol. And it's not an approach I recommend, especially timed-release niacin, which is potentially toxic for your liver. So because your liver has a major problem with it, so I do not recommend it. I think there's far more effective ways to optimize your cholesterol levels than taking niacin, so it's not something I recommend. But for acutely, to help your body excrete these toxins, because niacin also has what's called a lipolytic effect. It helps your body break down fat. But it also has a very potent vasodilatation effect, so that if anyone has taken niacin, or if you yourself taken, there's something called a niacin flush, where you get beet red, and I'm telling you, literally like bright red at some point. And that point is different for different individuals. But the dose that this physician uses is about 5 grams or 5,000 milligrams, which is an enormous amount, and not a dose that someone can do initially. They have to work up very slowly. People may only be able to tolerate 25, 50 milligrams. So you work up slowly to that dose, and you do this before you do the exercise and the sauna. And then, so you've got these niacin on board when you're doing the detoxification. You can do this pretty much ideally every day for a few weeks would radically reduce the amount of toxins in your system. So that's sort of the best way I know how to detoxify, and again, ideally done under the supervision of a physician and maybe a controlled environment, because there's so much toxins that's released from your system in this sauna that it has to be cleaned on a regular basis, because the sauna turns into quite a toxic environment. Now, there are other options that you can use and that are being used. And I'm not a big fan of either the medically prescribed, or at least unsupervised application of some of the heavy metal chelators like DMPS or DMSA. Now, they can be used, and they can be used quite effectively if they're done with a knowledgeable, skilled clinician. And that's really a key here. These are very potentially dangerous approaches, and you've got to know what you're doing. And so don't use them yourself. And if you are having seen a physician, make sure that person has lots of experience so that you don't run into any of the side effects, because there's a lot of cautions that you need to use with them. So aside from optimizing your body fat percentage, and some of the more powerful ways that I know and have learned from my mentors is to use food-based approaches to help your body detoxify. So one of my favorite food-based detoxification aids is chlorella, which is a green algae. And it's useful for just about everyone, except for about the less than 1% of people who are actually allergic to it and shouldn't be taking it. But for those who can, it's a phenomenal source of protein. In fact, such a high-quality protein source that many people use it as a primary source of protein. But it also has factors in there that actually bind to heavy metals and chemicals and pesticides, and helps facilitate your body to excrete these from your tissues. Now, in addition to that, it has chlorophyll, which is loaded with plenty of benefits, and it also helps facilitate your digestion. Now, when it comes to chlorella, you want to be careful of a few elements, and one of those elements is to make sure that it's what's called broken cell wall chlorella. And the reason is because the nutrients and the factors that allow chlorella to be so effective are really bound up within the cell, and because it's a plant cell wall, it's very difficult to digest. So if you just consume chlorella without it being broken down, most of the benefits is going to go straight out your intestine down the toilet. So it has to be broken cell wall and done in a way that you can get over 80% of it is digestibility. So look for that as a key. And the other component is, do you want to make sure it's organic, because it can be grown in contaminated waters itself, and if it is, then you're going to actually have heavy metal contaminants and other potential pesticides in there, so you want to be really careful about it. So organic and broken cell wall are really two of the key components, and that's why I'd recommend also looking at the company that's producing it, make sure that they've certified, gone through all the processes to make sure that you have the highest quality supplement available. So these are, again, detoxification is a relatively controversial area. You want to really focus on your diet. That's really the key. Exercise, optimize everything. You consider the infrared sauna in the protocol I described. And if you want to use an additional aid, I think chlorella really is one of the best food-based approaches you can possibly have to help your body aid itself in the detoxification, elimination of the toxins that you've been exposed through your life. So another important tool that you and your family can use to help take control of your health.